Welcome to Politically Basic. I'm your host, Kyle Campbell. As we always do, we're breaking down the basics of all political issues and current political events so that you get to decide. Friends, today we hear from someone with a very important perspective and voice. It's Bogdan Laurentiu, also known as Immigrateful, a man whose positivity, love for America, and appreciation for her values didn't come from comfort, but from opportunity earned. A legal immigrant who moved to the United States in 2011, Bogdan experienced firsthand what makes America different: the freedom to work hard, speak freely, and build something meaningful, no matter where you start. After living across the country, he found his home in Texas, where his life and calling took shape. Today, Bogdan is a conservative commentator, content creator, and public speaker who isn't afraid to speak up when he sees America drifting from its core values. Grounded in perseverance, adaptability, and faith, his story reflects the American spirit he believes in: resilient, hopeful, and driven. Through Immigrateful, Bogdan reaches over 700,000 followers and generates more than 15 million monthly views, with commentary on American culture, immigration, leadership, and current events. Through Immigrants for Liberty, he helps legal immigrants succeed through coaching in entrepreneurship, career development, financial literacy, and community leadership. This is Bogdan, an immigrant who came chasing the American dream and now fights to protect it. Bogdan, I am thrilled to have you on Politically Basic today. Thank you so much for being here and telling us your story.
Thank you so much for having me. It's amazing to be here on your platform.
Well, this is going to be a great conversation, and I would just love to start off by hearing your story. It's an incredible one. Tell us how you made your way to the United States and immigrated the legal way.
So a lot of people think that my story is very, very amazing. I think it's the regular story of millions of other immigrants that came to the United States. I came here in 2011, like you mentioned earlier. And everything came with a little bit of a challenge. Me and my best friend in Romania, we had just returned from a trip, and we were in our college dorm at a party. And he just looked at me and he's like, "We should go to America next." And that's kind of all we talked about it in small terms. That was around in the summer of 2010. And fast forward in the summer of 2011, we landed in Boston, and we started our American dream, our American journey. We came here through an exchange program. We were lucky to have an easy way of coming to the United States, and we picked New Hampshire because we were looking at an area where the income was going to be as high as possible while the expenses were going to be low. As an immigrant in a new country, you have to start somewhere, and we kind of looked at that. Fast forward to where we are today and where I am today, I look back sometimes, and as years pass by, I could not be more proud and humbled to have been allowed to come to this country and to chase this American dream, and for this country to welcome me with open arms and give me the opportunity. That's all we need as immigrants in this country. We need the opportunity. Give me the chance to do something with my life, and I will take that and run with that. And that is how everything started, and that is how we are today.
Wow. So this was 15 years ago, back in 2011, when you and your roommate thought, let's go to America next. What was the way of thinking about doing that and coming through a program and on a travel visa? Did you think that was easy? Did you think you were going to stay here just forever or for a time? Or what? How did people kind of look at what you did at the time?
So I can speak for other immigrants, of course. I can only speak for myself. We expected it to be a little bit challenging. Nothing that is worth your time will ever come easy in life, regardless of what it is. We were very fortunate that we had that drive and we had that resilience to come to the United States, and to put it bluntly, to sacrifice. We sacrificed a lot, and I remember for the first few years in the United States, I was working 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. 7 days a week. No vacations, no trips, no Christmas vacations to go skiing or something like that majority of our acquaintances and friends were doing. We were just working, and we were working a lot, and we were working very hard. And we were fortunate enough for that hard work to be recognized by our superiors, and that hard work, got me promotion after promotion at work, at the job that I had back then. Obviously, it's not the case today. And it was something that was really, really recognized. And it became clear from the beginning that we have to grind a little bit for the life that we want. The reason why I am in America and why I advocate for this country is because here, if you sacrifice and you grind and you have determination and motivation, this country will give you the opportunity to do something with your life, which is not the same that can be said about a lot of other countries in the world. Just because you work a lot and you have a lot of ideas does not mean that you will have the opportunity to do something. And that's where my appreciation and love for the United States come from, because all we wanted was just the opportunity to do something with our lives, and this country gave us that opportunity. The same opportunity, respectfully, that every American gets since the day that they are born. Since day one, you have the opportunity to do something with your life. Some take it, some don't take it. And that's where the divide is in this country, from the people that are hating America, and I call them America hating Americans, and the people that are appreciating what this country has to offer. And as somebody coming from Europe, trust me when I tell you, just because you work hard doesn't mean that that country is going to give you the opportunity to do something with your life.
Wow, that's so true. And the mentality around immigrating and how that process works and what your participation as an immigrant should be in the process has changed so dramatically. And I think that has a lot to do with how America has welcomed people from other countries in. Back when you did it, you knew there was going to be hard work involved. You would make sacrifices. There was a process. And somewhere along the line, that just absolutely shifted, and people were coming and thinking, well, what benefits am I going to get, right? How is America going to benefit my life, instead of me coming in and pouring into the culture and working hard and contributing. When did you make the decision to pursue U.S. citizenship during that process?
So I am currently in the process for my citizenship. I am not a citizen. I currently hold a green card.
Okay. So how long do you think that is going to take you to complete that process?
So it's going to take much lesser time now with the Trump administration than it did in previous years. We have reports from all over the country that people are getting their interviews scheduled for citizenship within 3 to 6 months, which during the Biden administration used to be between 12 and 18 months. In some states, even more than a year and a half, 2 years. So we have all these reports from every state in the nation, majority, including California, including New York, including these deep blue states, where people are applying for citizenship and they are immediately getting an appointment to get fingerprinted, their biometrics, and after that, within a few months, they are getting scheduled for their citizenship interview with an immigration official, which has been unheard in the immigrant community up until Trump became in office. I don't really know what they are doing differently. I am not 100% sure what changes the current administration has done to USCIS. And I'm trying to be very careful what I say here, because I have a lot of government employees that work in the immigration bubble, so to speak, that are following me and that we keep in touch. But it just shows that if you want something done, you can do it. It just shows that if you want to prioritize legal immigration, you can. It shows that if you want to support legal immigration and you want to reward those that have done it the right way, you absolutely can. And it paints a very clear picture. The Democrats are all talk when it comes to immigration, while Republicans are the ones that are actually getting things done. Could we do more? Absolutely. But the numbers shall speak for themselves.
I'm so glad to hear you clarify this, because I do think that no one's talking about that part of it. What is being done with the people who are in the country currently, who were kind of mid-process in seeking citizenship when so many people came into the country over the last several years during the Biden administration predominantly. That is fascinating. I'm really, really glad to hear you clarify that the Trump administration is actually fast tracking citizenship processes for people who've been working at this. That's amazing to hear. What we've been hearing is, the border shut down. We're having zero border crossings. We're having zero, just super low numbers. I just read zero again of children being trafficked across the southern border. And those are good numbers. But you do wonder, well, what's happening, with people who weren't in that situation of those who came across over the last 4 or 5 years. So I'm really glad to hear that. And now you, Bogdan, you work in the intro. We were talking about an organization that you work with. What is that called? What are you doing? Tell me again. Hold on, I'm going to find it here. You're working with Wait, what was it called?
United Gen USA.
Yes. Okay. Tell us about that. Tell us about the work you're doing
I'm going to be
there.
very brief on this because we are still a startup and currently we are in the fundraising mode. So more to follow on that. But basically, United Gen is going to be a platform to unite conservative influencers and politicians and the average American.
Okay.
We see the left doing a spectacular job on engaging with their community, urging their community to get involved, educating their community. They are doing a phenomenal job getting people riled up. They are doing a great job getting people to speak at the city council, speak at the school board meeting, run for office, while Republicans are not doing absolutely nothing. We are seeing a complete disconnect when it comes to civic engagement between the left and the right. And the left are leading the way while the right is using the same talking points that they used 20 years ago, and there's absolutely no engagement. So we realize that there's a gap in society, in America, in the political field on the Republican side, where not so much is happening. So then what can we do? Well, we are going to take a page from the Democrat playbook and we're going to tweak it a little bit. And we will focus, just like Turning Point USA is focusing on the culture, and they are doing a phenomenal job with that, we will focus on civic engagement and civic education via influencers.
Yeah. What led you to do this is so interesting because you're an immigrant, you've gone through the process, you've worked hard. When was that, turning the corner time period in your life when you thought, you know what, I'm going to speak out on this, I'm going to help others? What did that look like for you?
Noticing that Republicans are not doing anything when it comes to civic engagement. That's simple. I'm not even, I could say so much more on this, but in one phrase is that lack of civic engagement from Republicans and Republican organizations in the United States. I live in Texas. I can tell you right here, the GOP in Texas, they could use some leadership. They could use some community engagement. We just had a little election this week where in Texas District 9, which is part of Fort Worth, Texas, the only conservative city in Texas, a Democrat won. And if you look at Tarrant County, the Tarrant County Democrats on their Instagram page, all their posts are about community engagement, elections, register to vote. When you look at the Tarrant County GOP Instagram account, they posted something about 9/11, they posted something about Independence Day, and they posted something about somebody's birthday. No engagement, no urging people to vote, nothing.
Wow.
We are losing. And we are not losing because people don't want to vote. We are losing because people don't know when to vote, people don't know what to vote, people are not being engaged, and people are not being educated. That's why.
Well, that makes me sad across the board, I have to say, because I think that voting, I'm not sure it should be mandatory, but I am of the belief that, we have this luxury in this country of being able to vote, especially, immigrants who do come and get their citizenship, people of color, women. Certain groups have fought extremely hard to have the right to vote. And it drives me a little bit crazy personally, Bogdan, when people don't participate. That should be a responsibility of everyone here in this country who gets that privilege to cast a vote. It makes a huge difference. It's so interesting. Immigration in general is something that we used to talk about a lot in terms of immigration reform. This used to be a discussion just amongst the public here about how do we fix it? How do we make it better?
We don't need it.
Really? Let's talk about that because it seems like the the conversation has kind of paused while we have dealt with a lot of rushing in of illegal immigrants over the last several years. So you say we don't need it. Do you think the system, when it is, operating as it stands now, do you think that is good enough, or should we make changes?
Yes. No, ma'am. One of my business associates, she's actually an immigration attorney. We talk about this a lot. Now, obviously, we don't agree on anything, but that is the nice part about being a conservative. You can do business and you can have great friends with people that think slightly different than you. I personally, and this is just my personal belief, I don't think that we need immigration reform in the United States. We just need to enforce the laws that we already have on the books. We have an option for people to come to this country the legal way. We have tens of millions of immigrants in the United States that are showing just that. We have options for people to get tourist visas. We have options for people to get work visas, work permits, green cards, citizenship, TPS, temporary protected status. We have options for people to apply for asylum. We give these options to everybody, regardless where you come from. Now, of course, the argument from the left is that some countries have it easier and some countries have it worse. And that is absolutely correct, but that is a direct result of the actions of those immigrants when they are coming to the United States. Secondly to that, we have seen that when the system is working the way it's intended to work, as in is not being clogged by millions and millions of immigrants crossing the border illegally, the system works. Point in case, the discussion that we just had earlier, when now you can get an appointment for your citizenship interview within 3 to 6 months in majority of states in the United States, which is unheard of. I don't believe that we need immigration reform. I think we just need to enforce the laws that we have on the books and go from there. And to debunk a myth real quick, because I am pretty sure somebody in your comment is going to be like, well, for this person that I know, it took 20 years for them to get their green card. It only takes 20 years if you cross the border illegally. If you enter the country legally, through whatever means you can, as long as you entered the United States the legal way, it will never take 20 years. Those are only situations when you cross the border illegally, and after that, now you're in the system and you're trying to get legal. Best of luck to you. But in the same time, that is a consequence.
Amazing. What would you tell people to do who have crossed the border legally? They're not out breaking any additional laws. They're not this subset of illegal immigrant who's out there, stealing or hurting other people, or but they have broken the law in the sense that they have come into the country, not taken advantage of that process. And they've been here, they've established themselves, they have a family, they have a job. The Trump administration, Bogdan, is offering people now, I believe it's up to $3,000 to self-emigrate, and with the opportunity to then try to come back and immigrate into the United States the legal way. Would you tell people to take advantage of that at this point? Because I think there's this whole population. They did not come in under the Biden administration. They came in under, Bush or Obama, and they've just been kind of keeping their head down and trying not to pop up on anybody's radar. Some of them have identification. They have driver's license. They say they pay taxes. They have done everything else to try to establish themselves as similar to legal citizens, but they're not. So what would you say would be the best course of action for those people?
So this is a very, very complex issue. A lot of factors are involved into this. And I genuinely don't know what to tell them outside of wishing them best of luck. I do take an issue with the narrative that they crossed the border illegally and that is the only crime that they have been committed. Because we hear this a lot. For example, Pramila Jayapal, Representative Jayapal, from wherever she is, she stated that being in the United States illegally is not a crime, and crossing the border illegally is not a crime. And we have seen AOC use similar talking points, which I find absolutely horrific, that you have an elected official in office lying to their constituents. But I digress. So when it comes to people crossing the border illegally, it's much more nuanced than that. We hear a lot from the left that, that is the only crime that they have been committing. So we should allow them to stay. And my question is, okay, that is the only crime, but are they supposed to do anything else? For example, if you are an immigrant in the United States, after 90 days, you're supposed to register with USCIS. Are they? Probably not. If you're an immigrant in the United States, every time you change your address, you should notify USCIS. Are they? They are not. So just out of the gate, we already have two other violations of federal law, Title 8, US Code 8, also known as INA, the Immigration and Nationality Act, right? So it is not just crossing the border illegally. It's also not doing other things the legal immigrants in the United States are required to do, and that they are doing every single time. Every single time I moved, I had to notify USCIS that I moved. I had to register for the Selective Service as a young adult in the United States of America. And to get away from that a little bit, we had a raid this past summer in California on a farm where somebody that crossed the border illegally with no criminal record was detained by Border Patrol and ICE. Turns out he was a sex offender. So it's never a victimless crime. Also, illegal immigration is make it harder for legal immigrants.
Right.
Allow me to explain. By being illegal, you will always work for less pay than a legal immigrant will. So if you're a legal immigrant that wants to work in construction, you're going to be paid the same wage that an illegal immigrant is accepting because they are here illegally and they need some money. And also something on illegal immigration that I think that Republicans are doing a very bad job at doing is the messaging. How are we approaching this? We should not be approaching illegal immigration as, somebody crossed the border illegally and that's the only crime that they did. We should approach immigration as a slap in the face to every legal immigrant that came here the right way, and also a safety perspective for women and children in the United States. I was in Europe this summer in vacation in Eastern Europe. I visited a few countries, and we were seeing 2 a.m. single women walking alone through the city. No issue whatsoever. I'm talking about Hungary, I'm talking about Bulgaria, I'm talking about Romania, I'm talking about Poland. In all this country, you can be an 18, 20, 25, 30-year-old woman that can walk alone in the city, on the street, at night, in complete safety. Can you do that in the United States? Not really. That's why we have Uber, right? So
even Uber is questionable on the safety
even Uber is questionable sometimes. We have seen this.
Yeah.
So I totally understand where people are coming from, and they are, look, I can't imagine living in some countries where these people are coming from. And I totally understand where they are coming from. And as an immigrant, as a fellow immigrant, my heart is with them. But part of being a grown-up, part of being an adult, is understanding that you can leave emotion out of it in order to make judgment and make decisions that are best for your family or for your country. In my case, the country that welcomed me in. I advocate for the United States of America as a legal immigrant in this country, to the country that opened the doors to me and welcomed me in with open arms. In the same time, I can have sympathy and empathy for the hardships and struggles that these people are going through in their country, and the hardships and struggles that they are going through as people that, like you said, cross the border legally in the United States. The two things can happen in the same time.
Right.
However, my number one priority is my family. My number one priority is this country. My number one priority is my life. My life. God, family, and country, the way Charlie Kirk said it.
You're saying so many things that are true, and I love hearing from you, Bogdan, because this is the wisdom that we need to be hearing on repeat right now with regard to this issue. I think the left, mostly, I say the left, meaning, that subsection of the Democrat Party who wants us to believe that crossing a border into a sovereign country illegally is not a crime, right? But it is the wrong thing to go find these people and essentially, make sure they do go through the process, that is the bad thing. And the thing that they have done is not the bad thing. And a lot of people have, I think, due to their hatred of Donald Trump mostly, and that's a separate issue they're struggling with, have adopted that. And they think, federal law enforcement is evil. And these people who have crossed the border illegally haven't done anything wrong. And they're flipping that script. And it is very, very confusing. And a couple other, issues I just want to bring up while I've got you. And
are these the same people that created the borders and barriers at Chad? That community where cops were not allowed.
Chaz and Chop, yes, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
So
and that was
how borders do work.
Well, that's funny, and how quickly that one fell apart too, because they didn't allow any kind of law or law enforcement in there. It was a free for all. It was it was Lord of the Flies, right? And it just lasted 2 weeks until someone got hurt. And I don't know how many times we have to learn this lesson the hard way, but it does seem like we are in a period of time in our country and our culture right now where we are going to have to learn the hard way that this just never works to take law enforcement and following the laws of this land out of the equation. It's interesting here. You're in Texas and I'm in California. We have a very, very different situation. Thank you. I appreciate your sympathy, and I will take it gladly. We are a sanctuary state, and this further complicates this issue because, the state wants to change the rules here while the federal government says, no, our laws and our rules still trump yours. And I think that this has only worsened the issue so much. And, many people are now waking up to the realization that there is a goal here of bringing in as many new voters as possible. But here are a couple of things that are going on, and I'd love your take on it, Bogdan.
Yes, ma'am. One
is the human trafficking, and I say human trafficking meaning both components of that. The sex trafficking, which is off the charts and out of control. Not just, in children being brought over the border and used in that way, but the continuation of the sex trafficking that happens once that occurs. And then there's the labor trafficking. And what you were saying about, illegal immigrants working for less. This is so dangerous for illegal immigrants to be taking these jobs because they have no recourse if something, if someone's violating labor law, they're working them to death, they're unsafe conditions, they have no recourse because they're terrified of being found out that they are not here legally. It's just a horrible mess. And the other issue that we're dealing with is that this state in particular has decided to hand out driver's licenses like candy. And we all went through this process the right way. We learned the rules of the road. There are many of them. I got a ticket a year ago and had to go through the online traffic school. It was the biggest pain, but I will tell you what shocked me the most was how many of these rules I had forgotten since I learned when I was 15, 16 years old. These people aren't going through any kind of education or training or proving that they know how to drive a car, and the commercial driver's licenses are being handed out to people who don't speak the language, who cannot read English in these road signs. And now we're having people getting in accidents and losing their lives over it. And the mainstream media, the legacy media is not really picking it up. And over here, we're just suffering through the ramifications of all of this illegal immigration. How does that get fixed, do you think? How do we come out of this on top of just understanding that this has real consequences and it's hurting people very badly?
By getting out and vote. That's how you stop this. I call it national suicide because that's what it is. And the only reason why Democrats are pandering so much to the immigrant community, specifically the illegal immigrant, is because that's how they stay in power. Let's not confuse people about that. That's how they stay in power.
Yeah.
We are going to have in 2030 the census, right? Every decade we have a census in the United States where we count everybody and anybody from the mother to the father to the abuela to the auntie to everybody. And if we would not count illegal immigrants, California would probably turn red. And they would lose a lot of seats. It's how Democrats stay in power, which is why they advocate so much, which is why you saw under Biden all these millions of illegal immigrants that were caught crossing the border illegally, they were being shipped to all these states. That's why. Because you are changing the demographic, you are increasing the population. These people are going to vote a particular way, those that have their asylum applications approved. And then that's how Democrats are staying in power. While again, Republicans are doing absolutely nothing about it. So the way you stop it is by going out and vote. Why do we need people like Scott Pressler to go and flip counties as an independent American citizen that loves his country when we could be having somebody like Scott Pressler in every state from the Republican Party? We could educate people how to register to vote, encourage them to vote. You mentioned earlier you don't think it should be mandatory. I agree with you. The government should not mandate anything. However, here in Texas, we had millions of people not vote at the last election. And we are a big state. If Texas goes blue, we are done. California is already blue, right?
Well, so we don't want to be.
The way
the people don't want it.
You go about this is by voting, encouraging people to vote. But that's not enough. You also have to have a good platform. You can't just encourage people to vote because Democrats are doing X, Y, Z. You should also encourage people to vote because this is what Republicans want to do. This is my platform. This is our platform. If we pick a Republican on the street right now and we ask them randomly, are you a Republican? Yes. What is the current platform of the Republican Party in 2026? How many people would be able to tell us to put a few sentences together and articulate what it is? Not so much, right? So we are in this mess in part because of all the influx of illegal immigration in states like New York, California, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and so on and so forth. But also, it's not just the Democrat fault. We cannot blame Democrats without looking in the mirror and looking at our side and identify what our side can do better.
Yeah, it's so true. You know, we need more Scott Presslers. We need everyone to think with that mentality. But we also need more Nick Shirleys, apparently, because these immigrants have come in and decided that it is okay to steal. And it's awful, but it's also interesting to see what's going down here. And what is going down is that people who operate differently in their home country, their country of origin, have just brought that way of thinking here. And when you don't go through the process that you are going through, which means you learn everything there is to know about the United States of America, and you adapt to turn into a citizen who knows our history, who understands our laws, there is some conforming that's got to happen. You leave the other country and that culture behind, and you pledge your allegiance to the United States of America. Well, when you skip that process and you come in, of course, they're going to bring their culture and their way of thinking and their different set of laws into this country and operate that way. And what we're seeing with this bustling, growing Somali culture in Minnesota is that they are just living as if they are back in Somalia. And the rules here don't seem to apply. And most unfortunately, our leadership in that state and in those communities has turned a blind eye. Not only that, I think they support it, and they just haven't had the guts to come flat out and say, well, we're fine with this. You know, we want those votes. We want to seem sympathetic. We want to seem like we are woke and are on this page, and they can't quite do it because the public outcry, rightfully so, has been a lot louder than that.
I don't really think that they are sympathetic. I'm going to be honest with you here. And this is just me trying to be a little bit of devil's advocate and giving a little bit of
I want you to be honest.
Well, that's the only thing you will get, my honesty. But I think this is my honest opinion when it comes to this. The way I look at it is we have majority of Democrats in office that are moderates. They are normal people that just think differently than us. But they are faced with opposition from their own side. So then most of these nice people, I'm just going to call them nice for argument's sake.
That's kind of you.
These nice people are looking at a situation like this. So I have, just like the mayor of Minneapolis, that weak man. I can't call him anything else. They are looking at it from this perspective. I'm currently elected. This is what my community wants to do. We have seen that when Democrats in office don't play ball, they get primaried and they lose their seat, and somebody else more radical is going to come. So then it is my personal belief that some of these Democrats in office, they are looking at the situation from that perspective, and they're like, well, like this, I'm gonna stay in power, and I'm gonna kind of meet them halfway, and give them some breadcrumbs, and agree with them on that, and disagree with them on the other issue, but I'm not gonna do it publicly because I'm gonna gaslight them, and I'm gonna stay in power until the next election. And at the next election, we will see what we will do and keep going from there. That is my honest belief. Obviously, there are exceptions. We have the entire squad, from AOC to Ayanna Presley to Jamila Pral and Cory Booker, that they really believe everything that they are doing. That is their belief. But there are some Democrats that are in office simply because they are kind of playing ball, because they know that otherwise another Democrat more radical will come into office. So like that, they are kind of maintaining a little bit of control. Just a different perspective.
No. It's interesting, and I have questions for you on that too. But also important to note that the squad is now being looked into in terms of their financial gain. That they have all just been tremendous in following Nancy Pelosi's lead and just really being brilliant at investing in the market and making millions and millions of dollars off of $130,000 congressional salaries. It's really incredible to watch.
Nancy Pelosi is the GOAT of stock trading.
Yeah, wow. She's the best there ever was. It's really amazing. When we're talking about Jacob Frey specifically, the mayor of Minneapolis, he's an interesting character because he ran on a platform of public safety, which I kind of, you kind of have to laugh as your heart's breaking that he is pledging and committing to the people that he represents that he's going to keep them safe. Well, his city has already burned once in 2020, and it is being destroyed again. People are being hurt and losing their lives. It's really awful to see. But he's pandering so powerfully to this Somali community that he'll have press conferences and he'll speak in that language, and he's making videos. And I guess in Somalian, his name is Hobo Fry. And I get such a kick out of that. I like to call him Hobo Fry. His, hello, my name is Hobo Fry. And I'm like, you can't be serious, but he is. And I just wonder, I wonder, why is he so committed to this immigrant population so much more so than the rest of the people living in Minneapolis?
He's a fake. He's such a fake. He's so two-faced. Have you seen the video of him eating at that restaurant with Somali leaders?
And he can't do it.
He was picking
dying.
his food with the fork, and I'm like, that is the face that you make when you date somebody that cannot cook. Okay? Just so we are clear.
That's a kind way of saying
it. We've all been
it.
there, and you're just trying to please the person and be a gentleman, and you're just like picking your food and trying while in your mind you're like, what am I doing? I should have called in sick today. That he's such a two-faced, fake, weak man. That's how I see him.
Hobo Fry's got to go. It's time. We gotta
voted for him.
Hit the road, Hobo. Yeah,
they voted him.
Well, who's voting? And I mean, that's the issue, right? Who are they letting vote? A lot of them are
naturalized citizens in Minneapolis. The Somali community, a lot of them are really naturalized citizens. So this is how you change the demographics in the United States. You drop tens of thousands of Somalis in a community, and you change the entire voting structure.
That's true. They're talking about, at the federal level, I think, about removing citizenship rights from people there who have been, who will be charged and prosecuted from the massive amounts of fraud. What do you think about that?
I think that's a slippery slope. And so let's just clarify something. The only way you lose your citizenship in the United States is if you lied on immigration forms. That's it. There's nothing else out there. So if these people committed felonies prior to their naturalization, a case can be made for denaturalization. But if all the crimes happened after they received their citizenship, you can't lose your citizenship because now you're a citizen.
Yeah.
You did not get your citizenship via fraud. You did not lie on federal immigration documents. There's absolutely no reason for you to lose your citizenship. You should go to prison. You should, you should get what's coming to you for the crimes that you allegedly committed. But as long as the crimes have, it would be very hard for them to prove, in my opinion, that all these crimes happened or started before these people got their citizenship.
Yeah,
if that
thank
makes
you.
sense.
It does, and thank you for clarifying that.
So it's just a slippery slope
It
because
is.
otherwise Democrats can get in power and they
Yes.
can look at naturalized conservatives
Yeah.
and target them. And we have seen that happening under Biden when they pressured social media companies to
Right.
censor us, take our accounts down, suppress our stories. And we also have seen it under Obama when the IRS received direction from the administration to target conservative businesses. So this is nothing new. We have seen it happening from Democrats, and it just shows that there's no limit to the extent that they can go. So doing this, again, if they lied on federal forms, if they committed immigration fraud, yes, fine. But if they haven't, don't create a situation that after that we can, be screwed over for a lack of a
Totally.
better term. Because we have seen, again, IRS targeted conservative businesses. The White House pressured social media companies to target conservative content creators. I was one of them. I lost an account at 500,000 followers on TikTok.
Wow.
I was banned on. I was shadow banned on Twitter. I was shadow banned on Instagram. I got the whole last year. I received 83 followers on Facebook. 83, and now this year I'm at 112,000. So we have been censored. We have been deplatformed. We had our stories suppressed. So I just don't think that opening Pandora's box is the right way to go about
Yeah,
this.
I agree with you, but I mean, there's a case to be made that if these people don't understand how fraudulently they are operating now, there's probably a pretty good chance that those immigration forms might not be filled out exactly the way they should have been. But again,
100%.
it's like are you going to go and find everyone and make that case, and you're 1,000% correct that script
Again, if a
can be
crime has been
flipped.
committed,
Yeah.
do what you have to do.
Yeah. No, it can
Simple as
absolutely
that.
be weaponized the other way around too. And
Everybody on the left keeps talking about how many people are in prison in the United States of America. I don't think we have enough.
no, I don't think anyone's gone to prison in the last several years. It doesn't seem to be a thing anymore to send anyone to jail. Well, fascinating. Let's talk about this funding for ICE and DHS right now. This is the big battle. Congress is trying to hold the latest funding bill hostage. The One Big Beautiful Act really funded the Department of Homeland Security thoroughly. It funded ICE very thoroughly. And now Democrats want to say, hang on, we should carve it out. We should pass the funding bill. But we need to defund ICE and DHS. What's your take on that?
Well, nothing screams I want open borders than defunding those that are enforcing immigration laws. Let's just clarify that from the beginning. That being said, I am not a big fan of big bills. I think that if you want to fund ICE, there should be a bill to fund ICE, nothing else in it. If you want to fund, to do border security, you have a bill for border security. I've never been a fan of big bills. I think that that's part of the reason why we are in this situation is because in these bills, you have to make concessions. Everybody wants something, so you just put a bunch of pork in it. That being said, I would like to remind every Democrat that is going to see this video that we are in this mess because of your boy Biden. If your boy Biden wouldn't have allowed millions of people to enter the country unvetted and unchecked, or with very little vetting and very little check, we would not need all of this. That is why we are offering $3,000 for illegal immigrants to self-deport, because it costs us north of $17,000 per illegal immigrant that is being deported. And I'm saying $17,000 if we are just catching them and deporting them, and they stay a few days in a facility. If you're talking about court hearings, appeals, And all of that, and we hold them for a year, it goes to tens of thousands of dollars that the American taxpayer is paying for it. And like Tom Holland said, what is the price that you want to put for national security? That is why we need all this funding, because they allowed all of this to happen.
Yeah, completely, absolutely spot on. Everything that you are saying.
And if I can just add
yes,
something,
please.
my apologies for interrupting you. I promise
Go
my
ahead.
mom raised me better.
No, please go ahead.
This is a trend that I notice on the Democrat side. We create an issue because we know that we will lose the election. And after that, Republicans win, as we foresaw. They are going to take care of the issue, and now we have a talking point. This is created, this whole immigration mess is created by Democrats. Full stop. We are trying to fix the issue. The American people voted to fix the issue. And now, obviously, there are riots, there are protests, and so on and so forth, because we are trying to fix the mess that they have created. And not only that, everything that Trump is doing and everything that Trump is saying was said and done by everybody that ran for president of the United States from Democrats. Hillary Clinton spoke exactly like Trump is speaking. Barack Obama spoke exactly like Trump is speaking. This is nothing new. And it just shows that the conservative / Republican side, we kind of stayed where we were in terms of beliefs. And it's the other side that went more and more and more to the extreme.
Well, Democrats don't like to remember that or talk about that. How convenient of them.
You can have good memory and smoke pot all day long.
That's right. That is correct, sir. Well, listen, now it's gotten to the point where it's so easy to throw these sort of outrageous claims out there and say that, ICE is dragging black and brown people out of their homes into the freezing cold and arresting innocent people, and that Kristi Noem should be fired. And you're exactly right. In every presidential administration since Bush, illegal immigration has just been something that everyone has agreed on across the aisle. We don't allow people to cross the border illegally. We find them, we process them for deportation, they get their due process, and off they go. And no one has had a problem with it until apparently we wanted to weaponize it and use it to harm Donald J. Trump. It's fascinating to see. It's highly disturbing. How do you think Kristi Noem has done as the head of DHS so far?
I would like to see more. I'd like to see more done. I'd like to see her. She's been standing up for her people, which is good because they haven't had that. Again, I keep in touch with a lot of Border Patrol agents, ICE agents, DHS agents, and I hear stories. They didn't feel any support during the Biden administration. They couldn't do their job under the Biden administration, and so on and so forth. And they are feeling that now that they are feeling that they have the tools and they are allowed to do the job that they signed up to do. I would like to see a little bit more in terms of combating the narrative and more of the things that we were promised. We were promised much more when it comes to immigration enforcement, and we are not getting it.
Oh, so you want to see it kicked up another gear, huh?
Yes, and the reason why I look at it as a twofold situation. Number one, we have a lot of checks and balances in this country that makes it sometimes very hard to do the job that the people voted you to do. But also, I feel that, again, going back to the Republican Party, I see a lot of we won, and instead of using that as motivation to do more and do better, we are taking a step back like we are going in vacation right now.
That happens every time, I will tell you. It is one of the biggest problems in the Republican movement and the conservative movement. They say when we lose, we quit, and when we win, we quit. And we gotta quit quitting. Well, that's a piece of the fix, is DHS kicking it up a gear. What's the rest of the fix here? You've said just straight follow the law. Should we be paying any attention to anything that's coming out of these screeching, emotion-driven lefties, or should we just ignore it all and just go full steam ahead and finding these people who are here illegally?
We absolutely should be paying attention to it. You have to understand your enemy in order to win the war. And this is a war on the United States and the United States culture at the end of the day. we have to pay attention because we need to know what they are doing. We need to know what they are standing for. We need to know what they are advocating for in order for us to make a game plan and to strategize what we are doing. Just saying that we will do immigration enforcement and turn it up a notch is not enough. We have to understand how the other side operates. We have to find out who is funding these protests. We have to find out who is funding the riots. We have to find out where all this fraud is going on. We have to find out all these NGOs that are getting billions and billions of dollars from the United States government. How involved are they with all these open border losers? That's what we need to do. We cannot turn a blind eye. And is it hard work? Yes. Is it mentally draining? Absolutely. But we have to do it. It is our responsibility. You cannot claim to say that you love this country and you love the United States of America and you're just another person with a talking point.
That's a whole lot of work for one presidential administration. How can the average everyday person contribute to that work?
Getting involved, holding your side to a higher standard, getting involved with your local young Republicans and your local GOP chapters, and be an advocate. Like, hey guys, why is there no community engagement here? My family doesn't know anything about politics and they are all Republicans. Why don't we do something better? The only reason we can shift all of this is through education and voting.
Well, we've got a real problem with legacy media complicity in this too, in the narratives around immigration, the legality of it, around citizenship. How do you think we overcome that when so much of what we see and hear is supporting a leftist narrative on this issue?
By doing what Democrats are doing. As I mentioned earlier, they are really good at changing the narrative. Why do you think Democrats use influencers so much? Because even they understand that nobody's watching CNN anymore or MSNBC. Social media is running the show currently when it comes to news, when it comes to media, when it comes to opinion, when it comes to podcasting, when it comes to short form content. Social media is running it. And Democrats are understanding that. The only people that are not understanding it is Republicans. I do what I do, and I can't even get an email back, a call back, a response to my messages and everything. They don't care, and that is why we are losing. People need to get involved, but people are not going to get out of their comfort zone to get involved in politics. Because if you think about it, this country was founded on individualism, while the left, their whole base is to have a community. Right? So on our side, it's a lot of, that doesn't affect me. I'm going to be silent about it. That's not in my backyard. I'm not going to care about it. Well, we have seen what is happening when we sit back, relax, and we don't engage our base to go out and vote, to go out and run for school board, to go out and speak at the city council.
People can do all of those things and do them easily. So I will join you in calling on everyone to just do something. Start somewhere. Start getting your voice out there on social media. Yes, we all get banned all the time. I just put a post up and it 1,000 people saw it. I was like, come on, this is a joke. It's still happening. It's going to happen. Don't let it stop you. And I just want to say too, we're coming up to a midterm election. People are going to be listening to this episode a few months before the midterms, and sometimes we get voter fatigue, right? We get election fatigue or politics fatigue, and I get that. But it's important every time. Every election is going to be the most important election of our lifetime going forward. It just is. It's like every rose ceremony on The Bachelor is going to be the most dramatic rose ceremony ever. It's just the new reality that we live in because our political parties are getting farther and farther apart. And we used to have so much crossover, so many things that we agreed on and aligned on and worked together on, and it's just not the case anymore. So our country at every midterm, at every presidential election, and going forward, we are looking at two extremely divergent paths forward. And that is why it is so critical for people to get out there and do what is like the easiest thing in the world to do. We're not asking you to run for office. That would be great if you did, and I think people should think about it. Voting is so easy. Making sure your vote is cast and counted is so easy. And this is what I want to say while I've got you here in our final few minutes, Bogdan, is that the midterms mean a lot because the left wants to get a hold of the House, and they want to stop every single thing that is coming out of this administration and reverse it. And if anybody wants to go back a year, go back to what we were dealing with, a wide open border and a much higher homicide and murder rate, and, no one paying any attention to all of these people coming in and robbing us blind and stealing from taxpayers and murdering people and hurting people, we'll just go straight right back there. And so I really want to encourage everyone listening to this to not just take this responsibility upon yourself, but with every single person in your network, to just get out there and make sure that does not happen. Final thoughts from you, Bogdan, on this. We've had such a good conversation. I could just talk to you for hours about it. Truly, there's so much more I want to talk to you about, but give us something hopeful to hold on to as we close out this conversation.
We're going to lose the midterms.
Okay, wait, hang on. Let's be hopeful.
Look,
okay, go ahead.
We have the capacity to do great things. We have the capacity and the desire to do amazing things for our community, for our country, for the people around us. And nobody should take for granted what impact they can make in their community. Those friends of yours, you don't have to become a content creator. You don't have to become an influencer. You don't need to hold a sign at the corner telling people to vote. All you have to do is talk about it with your friends that you already hang out with, that you already go off to dinner, that you already go hunting, bowling, golfing with. All you have to do is talk about it and urge them to get involved and to go out and vote. This country is worth it. This country is going to pay you back. This country is worth protecting and defending. And it's up to us and every single one of us to do something about it and to advocate for this amazing place that we call the United States of America.
That's it. Everybody be like Bogdan. He is immigrateful, and we are grateful for you, sir. We're sure grateful to live in this country, and I think it would benefit everyone a lot to stop and remember that on a daily basis, how blessed we are. No other country on God's green earth is as great, as giving, as free as the United States of America, and we've all got to do everything that we can to protect that. So you're absolutely right. We truly are grateful for you and all the wonderful work that you're doing. And I do hope that you will come back on Politically Basic again in the future. Let's keep the conversation going. But thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And thank you all for joining us on this episode of Politically Basic. We're committed to breaking down the basics so that you get to decide. Check us out at politicallybasic.com and follow us on all socials at politicallybasic so you don't miss an episode. And we look forward to seeing you next time.